This is the Daily Wrestling News for March 3rd, 2021. We are powered by the Eastern Observer. My name is Ryan Joy, and I'm coming to you live from Minutes to Bell Time Studios on the beautiful Treasure Coast of the Sunshine State. And I'm joined today by the living legend, John DeConnie. Good morning, John.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Very good, very good. Well, we had a fun night of Impact Wrestling on Access TV last night. We had Young Rock. We had 2 hours of Dark. We've got a bunch of news to get into. So I say, let's ring the bell and get things started.
Hell yeah.
Well, we start our day like we start every day with the ridiculously random non-wrestling audience needs to know you better question of the day, brought to you by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. It's a place where you can join our hosted Pick'em League to test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling. Create an account and join the league now at ProWrestlingPick'em.com so you can play against your friends or play against the universe, but most importantly, put in your picks for AEW Revolution and see how you do against us and your friends. And then the season turns over in just about a month. So, all right, so a little break from the non-wrestling. I'll give you a wrestling question today, sort of. What was the last wrestling shirt that you purchased? Chair shot excluded.
Okay. Prior to that, I think maybe the Vigilante Club. There was a coupon on that website, and I grabbed a couple. That was definitely in it.
Funny. the website that shall not be named. We can name PWTs. So interesting. So after the Royal Rumble, I went out and purchased a Bianca Belair shirt and an Edge shirt. So those are going to be my WrestleMania Day 1 and Day 2 shirts this year. So that's where the last couple of shirts that I bought that were non-Minutes to Bell Time store shirts. So, all right, well, we're going to do the news. We're going to start our show with the news, and let me start with, Steve Austin news. It seems like, he's been out of wrestling for like 20 years now, but he remains in the news. He's got, straight up Steve Austin bounced back to 644,000 viewers for the Joe Cal episode this week. He was down in the 300,000 range with the last episode, but it was put in a less attractive spot because it was like 11:30 or 12:30 or something like that.
Right, they squeezed in the replay of Young Rock, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah, I think that's what it was. They put something in there between them. So good deal. Hopefully that's a premonition that we'll get more straight up Steve Austin in the future, because we could always use Steve Austin riding a fast car and shooting something with celebrities. So the National Wrestling Alliance yesterday made an announcement in conjunction with Fight TV that they'll be returning to pay-per-view on March 21st. It is Back for the Attack is the name of the show. After that, they are going to have a weekly television show starting on March 23rd. It will be NWA Power. It will be from GBS Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, just like Power has always been. But this time, unlike the free option last time, there's going to be a subscription price, similar to Primetime Live was on Fight TV. So you got to pay for Power. But I'm glad to see the NWA coming back. I have missed that. It's a very tight, very interview-focused, short match show. So I'm happy to see them come back.
You said they're coming back on March the 21st. Is that like a midday show? Because that would be right up against Fastlane, right?
Yeah, it is against Fastlane, and I don't have the start time for the show, but wouldn't it be nice if they did a afternoon show? That would be kind of your lead-in. So,
absolutely.
Much better than a competitive show. I'm sure they would have looked at that.
You would think, yeah. That's.
But they're going to restart, which is good because they have collaborated with AEW and the United Wrestling Network and stuff all year long. Even though they have not been running themselves, their talent has been exposed right through those other channels. So Thunder Rosa has been wrestling almost every week on AEW, and they've got Serena Deeb as the champion. So there should be some women's programming that we can dream up right away. So good luck, NWA. I hope you knock it out of the park with that pay-per-view, and and get some subs. On the AEW side of things, there is a 10-man tag that had been advertised for Dynamite tonight. It was the Dark Order versus Matt Hardy, Private Party, and TH2. That has been reduced to a standard tag team match. It will be Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn of Private Party versus Hangman Page and John Silver. Tony Khan said that he talked to a very old friend that convinced him that they needed to change the match. And I think the idea is that Matt Hardy wanted to be in the ring with Hangman Page ahead of the pay-per-view. So,
sure.
Another interesting tidbit: AEW Revolution is going to be playing in select Cinemark movie theaters. So this is like a return to like the closed circuit concept, so to speak. I kind of love it, but it's $20 a head to get in, so it's actually not too bad in comparison. It's $50 if you're watching it at home. So might be a nice option for people to watch. I hope it's successful because, any like different concept you want to see kind of take off and be interesting. So,
and as good as their pay-per-views have been, the idea of sitting in, even if it's a 1/4 filled movie theater and watching it on that big screen, wow, what a concept. old school, it's a throwback, but it's forward thinking at this point.
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of fun to think about, wrestling is always sort of like larger than life. So, there was people used to get the great big huge televisions and stuff like that so they could have like life-size Mario or whatever. This is wrestling. We need to do it larger than life, so let's put it on the movie screen.
There you go.
It's like having the Titantron right there in front of you to watch the show on. So, which is, if you go to WrestleMania and get bad seats, that's what you watch anyway. So
that's when you want to go see a show in Texas.
Right. Chelsea Green has re-signed, emphasis on the signed, with WWE. So no terms of how long or whatever, but that was a news item that has dropped. Various outlets reporting that. And it occurs to me when I read that, it's very important to not say resigned. So re-signed.
Re-signed.
That's right. And let's see. And so Travis says he's not sure he would want to take kids to it. I believe he's referring to the screening of AEW Revolution. That's a fair point. Also, probably maybe I think the NWA show is more kid friendly. So maybe if they put that in Cinemark, you can go watch that.
Exploding barbed wire death match, larger than life. Maybe a little traumatizing to an 8-year-old.
Yes. Now, things that are kid friendly is Young Rock. The Rock continues his fictitious plans towards running for president in 2032 and becoming a very relatable figure. In the latest episode, John, he has some daddy issues, not really necessarily between him and his dad, but his dad has issues, I guess. So
yes, everyone's worried about their job security, and very poignant. It makes it hits home today. I'm sure it'll still be hitting home in 2032, and apparently it hit home in 1982, which was most of the flashback in this episode.
Yeah, this episode took place in Hawaii. The Rock's grandmother is the promoter, and she's dealing with another promoter moving in and scarfing up some of the talent and stuff like that. Vince is in her corner though and says, she's got experience and this guy doesn't and whatnot. But this guy, he's giving out, hams to the talent, if they think about signing. So
in gold foil.
In gold foil, yeah. Well, it does make it look more attractive,
Even though a big part of it.
Rocky Johnson says the gold foil is not necessary because we all know it's ham. It tastes good. We know it. So after the episode aired last night, I looked at my wife and I said, is it possible that The Rock is just like lining himself up for an actual 2032 bid for president? Because this is like a whole profile piece for that. So
absolutely. Yeah. There was already talk of that, coming into this last election. There was, when they started floating the ideas of another celebrity, God forbid, the Rock's name came up, Oprah's name came up, and they were talking about a super ticket with the two of them. And, Who knows?
I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but WrestleMania 20 where Jesse Ventura was there? Or is it 19? It's 20. And Jesse Ventura said to a former president that we need a wrestler in the White House. So he may be foretelling something. All right, so that's Young Rock, a very easy half hour of comedy television to break up your Tuesday night, which is jam-packed with everything these days, which we're not reporting NXT moving to Tuesday night, but everybody else is. So once that becomes official, then we'll talk about that here too. But Tuesdays will get a whole lot crazier.
Absolutely.
But Wednesdays will be a breeze. So until that point, we talk about Tuesday on Impact on Wednesday mornings because they own the night on Tuesday. And so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches on Impact last night. And we started with Ace Austin defeating Chris Bay and Black Taurus. Ace Austin gets a X Division championship match. And John, do you think Ace Austin is the next X Division champion?
I've been calling for 2021 to be the year of Ace Austin, so I'm going to say why not start it? Well, I can't say start it here. He's already won the X Cup, but let's continue it right here. Let's get it rolling.
Do you think this is a step back for Ace Austin because he was the X Division champion heading into 2020, and then he was challenging Tessa Blanchard and things like that for the big title, but then he was out for several months and came back and got thrown into this situation, and he seems to be back into the X Division.
I think it would be a step back if this is truly all they thought of him. But I think this is basically the very reason why I made that statement a couple of weeks ago. I forget if it was here first or the EWP, that I think the idea by the end of this year is that he'll hold all the titles, or at some point during the – it starts with the X Cup, it's the X title, him and Madman get the tag titles, and then maybe by the end of the year he's in the main event picture.
Oh,
and that would really, that you'd put a stamp on this year would, truly be the year of Ace Austin.
You have a very good positive outlook on that. And I'm sitting over here thinking that, maybe he got crowded out because they, partnered and got Kenny Omega in there too now, and all these guys crowding out that top picture. But no, I think that's a positive way of looking at the situation. I hope you're right. So
we're always rooting for elevation of the homegrown talent, if you will.
Absolutely. Tennille Dashwood, she got a win over Havoc in 7:56 with using the spotlight kick. The story here was less about the match and more about Nevaeh coming out and destroying Caleb after the match, though. So it seems like things may have gotten patched up between Havoc and Nevaeh. I'm sure there's some lingering, I want to do better type of scenarios, but I think long term this is them. They kind of tore them down so they could rebuild them and bring them back to the Knockouts Tag Gold.
I would be good with that. I have another idea in the back of my mind bouncing around, but if those two come back together and win Knockouts Tag Gold, I would be all for that.
Is your idea that they're going to face each other at WrestleMania 40 or something, or
I almost saw Nevaeh was so down and she continued to lose and whatnot. I thought maybe she would go away for a little while, come back repackaged. And then in the meantime, you've got people like ODB and Jazz hanging around that, are no offense to them. They're not long for, their runs here. So when they disappear, all of a sudden you got Jordan hanging out. You got Havoc hanging out with the two most physical females together. How do you like that tag team?
Grace and Havoc sounds like a good team name or something like that. So I see it. So we have to turn our attention to Swinger's Palace. Johnny Swinger hosting TJP, making several bets, and TJP apparently is a very good gambler. So
he is a soothsayer. He could see even their conversation coming.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to skip down to another match. Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers ends in a DQ. Brian Myers tries to load up his elbow pad, I think, for prior to giving Edwards a clothesline. So it appears to me that the former Kurt Hawkins and the former Zack Ryder are definitely going to have a match, and it's not going to be too far into the future. Do you think it's something we have to wait till Rebellion for, or do you think this is something that's going to come on Sacrifice?
I mean, that would be a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, I guess if Myers, blasts him backstage somewhere this coming week, you could rush it. But the way that card's filling out, you almost feel like there's enough to put on that card where you could let this have a slow boil and a slow build.
I think they want to, right? Because when you have these these guys are two very, very popular figures in wrestling. And you don't necessarily see that so much on wrestling television, but their podcast and the following that they've grown outside of television, they've built this thing up. They've got this little empire going, and I think a match between them is something we're going to have to pay for because they're going to bring people in for it.
Yeah, and Al keeps referring to it as the mega powers exploding, and I think in their best buddies in their heads, I think this is they know each other since they're 17 or 18 years old. This is their probably their dream. They're getting to play it out. So yeah, I could see it going all the way to Rebellion.
Yeah, which really isn't that far. It's April, so
right.
Cody Deaner said that if he did not defeat Cousin Jake, he would be willing to pay the consequences. And he did. I guess that meant Joe Doring was taking him behind the door and putting him down.
Him to the woodshed.
Yeah. He didn't actually put him down, but he didn't get back up real quick. So in the arena of Impact and New Japan partnership, we had the Good Brothers and Finjuice going up against Reno Scum and Triple XL. I don't think anybody was thinking that Reno Scum and Triple XL had a shot at winning this, but we thought we might see a little bit more dissension between the Good Brothers and Finjuice. Maybe something physical there. Nothing really physical happened, but they clearly had some dissension, which led to a backstage segment where they were arguing a bit. And then Doc Gallows just says, "How about we wrestle at Sacrifice?" They all agree. And as they walk away, Juice Robinson says, "We got him." So I guess that was the plan all along. The young boys are taking over the teachers, so to speak.
Yep, they played them like fiddles. They bickered nonstop, on the ring apron all through the match, backstage, and Finjuice got exactly what they wanted out of it.
And then main event was Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace. But due to a little altercation between Jordynne, Jazz, Kiera, and Tasha, Kiera found her way into getting the platinum package. So she got entered into this match as a triple threat match. Deonna Purrazzo would win here. I was shocked when the match was announced that they were even putting this on television, considering how good these Jordynne Grace and Deonna Purrazzo matches were last year. But I guess we did have a triple threat with Kiera in there, and whatever, Deonna Purrazzo gets the win here.
Yep, she just she laid in the woods there for a little while, let Jordynne Kiera battle it out a little bit, and she picked her spot, got a roll up win because that's what Deonna does. She's she game plans, she figures it all out. She's playing chess while the rest are playing checkers.
And all this was to set up ODB getting some little bit of a revenge on Deonna Purrazzo. ODB attacks Deonna after the match. Is ODB the challenger that you were looking for Deonna to face next? Because that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, not necessarily, but I didn't have someone in mind for her because Deonna's kind of just been hanging out with Susan and Kimber, and there's really been no progression of any storyline for her except within that group. So this kind of came out of nowhere, and I guess it's kind of fitting. ODB came back. You're going to plug her into a big spot like this because she can handle it, and so be it. I'm sure it'll be an entertaining match.
Sure. So here's what Sacrifice looks like now. We got 5 title matches. Ace Austin versus TJP for the X Division Championship. Rich Swann versus Moose for the big title. Jordan Grace and Jazz versus Fire and Flava for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Finn Juice versus the Good Brothers for the tag titles. And Deonna Barrazo versus ODB for the Knockouts Championship. 5 matches, all title matches. Maybe there'll be some more announced, but that's where we stand right now. I think it seems like we might get some Rohit, James Storm, something maybe added to this card at some point too.
Yeah. You could plug a few different things in here just to lengthen the card a little bit. But with all championship matches, you usually get a little extra time. So, they don't need too much more.
Yeah. But they, sometimes they do like these great, big, huge multi-person things to get everybody else on the show, So
yeah,
don't be surprised if next week they announce a 27-man triple threat quadruple corner match or something. So we'll see. Next week on Impact, we do have Chris Bay versus Ace Austin. That comes out of the Johnny Swinger segment. And we have Rohit Raju and Shera versus James Storm and Chris Sabin. So we might be getting that Rohit and James Storm stuff prior to Sacrifice. We'll see.
And a lot of booking coming out of Swingers Palace.
Right. All right, so we have a new name for our next segment. It's called NXT Tonight.
Nice.
NXT Tonight is going to be brought to you by the Body Slam Brigade newsletter. Each week I compile the week's top wrestling stories, put them all in a quick-to-read email that's divided up by company. Nearly 4,000 people get this free newsletter each week. We're literally like 20 people away from hitting 4,000. So be one of those people that gets me to 4,000. In addition to the top stories, the newsletter will also keep you up to date on everything we're doing at Minutes to Bell Time, whether that be new books, podcasts, games, anything else. Really the best way to make sure you don't miss anything. The issue comes out on Fridays, and it is free. BodySlamBrigade.com for the sign up. Okay, having said that, we have a couple of matches for NXT tonight. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai facing off against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. A lot of people want to see this title change here. A lot of people. What do you think the odds are?
I really think it's a coin flip because I could see Nia and Shayna continuing with them, but I think it's really exciting to put them with these two gals from NXT because there's so much women's talent in NXT that I'm sure they will bounce around to other shows, but right within that their own show there's lots of potential matches.
Now, see, I think this is a situation where WWE is doing a pretty decent job of not showing their hand, because on Raw, where Nia and Shayna live most of the time, they are currently kind of mixed up with Naomi and Lana. So you have a match that they've been kind of like teasing for a while that they haven't delivered on. So to change the titles here would seem kind of weird because they've got this other match that they've been building towards. At the same time, Nia and Shayna are also kind of interlocking themselves with Charlotte Flair in singles action and maybe trying to stake a claim against Asuka at WrestleMania. So you've got all these kind of like interworking things that are working around the tag champs. It's hard to determine, where are they going to be for the next, 4, 5, 6 weeks? And will the tag team titles switch over to Raquel and Dakota? I hope so, because I think the NXT brand needs a run with those titles for the reason that you mentioned, and for the reason that I think it'd be fun to have NXT people walking around Raw and SmackDown as a way of introducing them. So
100% agreed.
So I'm really interested to see how this match goes tonight. It's one of the matches I'm most looking forward to tonight. But we also last night got another match announcement for NXT. They oddly announced it at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, which seems kind of weird for them. Maybe they meant to announce it earlier, or 10 a.m. this morning or something, but the scheduled post went out early. Not sure what happened there. Anyway, everybody picked it up, so everybody knows that Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher are going to be wrestling Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, Borkin and Lurch, as John Smith would say, on tonight's episode. It's a non-title match. So, given that it's non-title, John, do you think Thatcher and Ciampa are going to win to set up a future match? Or do you think we're about to see some sort of implosion again between Ciampa and Thatcher that leads to another barbed wire exploding fight pit?
Well, as entertaining as that would be, I guess it depends on, was the MSK injury storyline covering a real injury, or was it just a way to give them a little respite from doing this title match? If MSK is going to be out a while, then I could see Ciampa and Thatcher winning this match to set up a title shot, to give them something to work with for the tag division there. But like you said, I just as easily could see them turning on each other and this going completely the opposite way.
And they could also make things really interesting if Ciampa and Thatcher get a win here. You got MSK coming back, who are going to want to get revenge on Grizzled Young Veterans. You got Thatcher and Ciampa with a win over the tag champs. You could set up basically, the 27-man tag team match for the titles at the next NXT Takeover. Let's see, what's the next holiday? St. Patrick's Day Massacre.
Hey, sign me up for that.
I think they would have announced St. Patrick's Day Massacre by now, but maybe we'll have Easter Bunny Bandit Day.
Where's something. The first? April Fool's Spectacular or something. The first is on a Thursday. Damn it.
Whatever the next NXT Takeover it is, maybe we'll have a 38-man tag match.
A showdown.
It is trivia time. Are you ready?
Never, but let's have it.
It is WrestleMania season. So, with that in mind, get yourself stretched. You are going to get 5 questions. A simple majority correct will get you the W. If you win, you get the Goldberg Oscar Award. If you lose, you get a Hawkins. And the subject we're going to be talking about today is WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 2. Okay. This WrestleMania is remembered for taking place from 3 different locations. Can you name them?
New York, Chicago, LA.
That's right. And you get credit for that. Can you also name the arenas?
Okay. MSG.
That's wrong.
Oh, that's right. It was Nassau. Yeah, my bad. I already got it wrong. So,
this is not a trivia question. That was just a bonus. So,
okay.
The Nassau Coliseum, the Rosemont Horizon, and the Los Angeles something. I think.
Yeah, I definitely would not have gotten the LA one. I would have guessed the Rosemont Horizon.
Yeah. Sports Coliseum or something. Somebody will chime in with a comment. Yeah, it is the Coliseum. I was second guessing that. I just didn't have it written down. Okay, the main event at the Nassau Coliseum was Roddy Piper versus Mr. T with what stipulation?
It was a boxing match.
It was a boxing match. T would win by disqualification.
When Roddy said it was boxing and just body slammed him.
Yes, that's right. You're 2 for 2. Andre the Giant won a WWF versus NFL Battle Royal by last eliminating this man. Your multiple choice: A. Refrigerator Perry, B. Bruno Sammartino, C. Bret Hart, or D. B. Brian Blair. That's a tough one. It's D is your option for B. Brian Blair. It would only be more confusing if option B was B. Brian Blair.
I'm all scrambled. Okay. Okay. I was afraid you were going to. I kind of remember the ending of this. I think it got down to Andre and both members of the Hart Foundation. So I'm going to go with Bret.
It was Bret. Bret has horrible luck with battle royals at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 4. Bad News turned on him and threw him out of the ring. So I think after 4, I don't think he was in any more WrestleMania Battle Royals, although there weren't many for a while after that. So, all right. Question number 4. You're 3 for 3. You're on your way to a perfect plex. Even though this is before Mr. Perfect was in wrestling here. In the opening contest in Los Angeles, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat defeated this god. Was it Hercules, Adonis, JBL, or Chris Masters?
No.
He is a wrestling god.
It would be the mighty Hercules.
It was the mighty Hercules. It was not Adrian Adonis, although Adrian, I do believe, was on the card. So, the main event in Los Angeles was a steel cage match where Hulk Hogan won by escaping the cage. Who was his challenger, and who was that challenger's manager? Was it King Kong Bundy and Jimmy Hart, King Kong Bundy and Mr. Fuji, Yokozuna and Jim Cornette, or King Kong Bundy and Bobby Heenan?
Bundy and Heenan.
It was Bundy and Heenan. Congratulations.
Perfect.
And Travis's lead was short-lived. You went 5 for 5 today. WrestleMania 2 trivia. You have taken the lead. And by the way, also 2 monthly championships, so you're really leading the pack these days. Which is a bit surprising. When we started trivia, you were not doing well.
Don't worry, there will be a return to form.
That first month was rough for you.
You've been in my wheelhouse with the Royal Rumble related and now Mania related. We'll get the SummerSlam, and I'll pull an offer at some point.
Yeah, it'll be tough for me to even come up with questions. I'm in the same boat. All right, here we go. So the Dropkick T-shirt is out. So go over to Body Slam Clothes and get the Dropkick T-shirt. It's our featured shirt this month. It is $20, $20, $20, regardless of what size, what color. It's already in the soft style, and there's only one shipping option. You're going to get it in 4 to 6 days, and it's $20. It includes that shipping. So unlike the other guys. Okay, so that's the it's the Dropkick T-shirt. So get that, and then wear that shirt as you watch on Fridays the Primetime Rundown. Join Joey Jarzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca on Friday nights for the Primetime Rundown. They take you through the world of sports. Our show kicks off at 6 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. Also, don't even watch the shirt because you're going to need it to watch the Essential Wrestling Podcast on Tuesdays. Episode, I think we're up to 44 next week of the Essential Wrestling Podcast. It'll be on Tuesday. I'll be in the hosting position because Al Carl is going to be back building ice castles. So join me with John Smith, John DeConi. Travis will be on next week. It's another week of updates and highlights in the world of wrestling. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Also, it's not too late to go back and watch last night's episode so you can see Al do it the correct way. And then there is this show, the Daily Wrestling News Show, every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. We have some special announcements about 2 weeks from now. So next week, I'll start plugging our special announcement for the week that follows. This weekend, we have an Elimination Chamber special. So not Elimination Chamber. Where am I? In February? AEW Revolution post show this Sunday. So do tune in for that. All right, John DeConi, did we cover the day in wrestling?
I think we wrapped it up quite nicely. Put a pretty bow on it.
I think we did too. And the whole time, people probably didn't know what show they were watching because I didn't have the Daily Wrestling News Show logo in the top corner. But now I do to close the show. So thanks, everybody, for watching the Daily Wrestling News Show. For John, I am Ryan. We will see you tomorrow.